Everyone whose car pulled up near that billboard, I would make them roll down their window. I'd lean in and wave, and they would roll down their window, and I would say, look. I didn't care if they didn't care. It was the most carefree thing I've ever been in my life.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmuth.
All right, welcome back, SGVers. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the SGV Master Key podcast. We appreciate you, and if you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a new listener, we tell the stories of the people and businesses that make up the San Gabriel Valley. And as always, like we said in the last episode, we've partnered with San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. So go check them out on Instagram at sgv.now and read their SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Scott, a lot of people have crossed your paths in their lives, and you have mentioned to me that you receive this feeling of, I don't know if it's joy, but something about your influence in many people who have come into your life. Right? You've talked about that with me.
Well, I've always felt that nobody comes in contact with me who does not go on to do something great or better or significant in their life. I mean, I'm lucky that I have in my life just met and worked with so many people of such, either importance or success. And I just felt, okay, as a business person, anybody who's ever worked with me, they've gone away better than they were before they came to me. In other words, I've just been lucky in the types of people I've been able, over time to meet or to work with.
Sure.
So, just a very, very lucky in my life, the types of people I've known.
And you seem to stay in touch with many of them as well, right?
Yeah, I try to. I do. I guess it's kind of the sentimental part of me where, I like to always go back and see parts from my past.
Sure.
It means a lot.
Well, today's guest is definitely one of those people who have crossed your path in this work environment and gone on to do their own thing, which we're going to get into today. So why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah. The guest today is someone who's meaningful to me because we were able to do some personal things together, which, I'll remind him of. He may not even remember. But his name is Brandon Rogers. He worked with us in our law firm for maybe 3 years. I'm not sure exactly. But obviously a very talented videographer at all times, and he left us to become a YouTube star. And he is now one of the, without question, the big stars of YouTube. And let's go ahead and start talking to him. Brandon Rogers.
Hello. Yeah. I am so surprised at your memory of how long I was. Even I have to think, how long did I work there? Yeah,
right.
3 years. 3 years.
Well, to me it was too short. To you it was too long. So
actually,
it's so funny.
I honestly think it was the best job that I had, and ironically, it was the only job I didn't get laid off or fired from. But no, I had a great time here, and a lot of it's due to your staff. A lot of people you hire that I got to work with were really personable and got the job done and were great to work with. And so, I didn't leave here because of this place. I'm out of here. Done. I'm behind me now. No, I remember it was a gradual phase out because I didn't want to. I still had a lot of friends that worked here. I still had, this was my family. Even Regina, who was head of HR at the time, she was like a second mother to me.
Right.
And So it wasn't just as, I wish I had this success story where I got up on top of your desk and I told you what was what and I got out of there. But ultimately,
well, you did in some of your videos, actually.
Yeah, I have to say, some of the videos, a lot of the ones arguably that got me where I am now were shot here in the office.
Yeah, and I should go back and explain. This is the law offices of Scott Warmuth that we're talking about. This podcast obviously is not law offices of Scott Warmuth, but we film it and we record it in our physical offices. So when Brandon came in today, it was sort of like a return to home.
Yeah.
And you ran into a lot of the same people that you saw, the last day you were here.
Right.
Just before you stood on the desk and but I have to say this. One of the first things Brandon wanted to do was go take a picture of the copy machine.
Oh, yeah.
That was in his video, The Angry Office. And the meme Move, I'm Gay, which you created.
Yeah, it was in that copy room, and I remember when we were filming that, I didn't think anything of it. We literally we waited until 5:30, the workday was over. We waited for everyone to go home, and then we shot it until I want to say about 8 o'clock at night. And I had no idea that I was shooting something that millions of people were going to, quote or watch again. It was essentially a heightened version of me at work. It was like, being a gay person at the office or any workplace, you kind of have, you get away with more because they need you for diversity. So you can, if someone's making copies, your copies mean more. It doesn't matter if they're work related or not. You wipe that person's work out of the way. So that's sort of that what I was making fun of. And I went into the copy room, and sure enough, it's still there, right? Just as I remember it. And so we got a selfie with the copier.
and you promised me you're going to post that.
I promise, and I'm going to tag our sponsor, the law offices of Scott Warmuth. Yeah,
sounds good so far. Let's keep going.
And honestly, you working here is what got. I just want to throw this out there because I'm afraid I'm going to forget to talk about this. But the videos that we used to, the content that I used to make here at the office, largely influences a lot of the stuff I make today. Just because a lot of what I had to shoot was in documentary format. We would go to, whether it was events or working with clients, I would have to learn to shoot what I could get and then work with what I got with confessionals and interviews and narration and want to tie it into a 60 minutes looking type segment. And I thought, well, this can be funny. We can spend a day in the life of like a kook and see what they're like.
And I remember you told me, I don't know, it's probably been 2 months ago, you did a day in the life of Amber Heard?
Amber Heard, yeah. Well, the video's called Amber Heard Did Nothing Wrong.
Okay.
And I like to reverse clickbait, where it's still clickbaiting, but you're giving them ultimately a product that's much better than what they thought they were going to observe. So I said, Amber Heard did nothing wrong. This video is not for Johnny Depp fans. And of course, I portrayed her in the most vile way I could. And of course, Johnny Depp was nowhere in there. There were comments saying, "Oh, you should have. Why didn't you make fun of Johnny Depp?" I said, SNL. I don't know if you guys saw the SNL sketch of it. They had every character in there except Amber Heard, which I'm assuming because they're afraid to make fun of an abuse victim, which is the exact reason I left Johnny out of mine. So, I'm very influenced by. I love when something's trending and I happen to be interested in it. Very rarely am I interested in what's booming at the time. So that video was something with the rest of the world, I had my ears to the pulse of it, of the whole situation, and I wanted to make fun of her really badly.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a vile video, and I want to go back in time probably 9 years ago now. And when you were here at our law offices, I asked you to do a lot of personal things. So, for instance, do you remember the video you did of my daughter and her swimming? Tiffany.
I do. That was one of the first things I ever did here.
Exactly, yeah.
And you asked me to do it right. We were standing in this half of the room right here.
Right, yeah.
And it was a conference, and I remember I didn't know what kind of job the guys who hired me here they weren't quite sure what my job would be. They knew that in general you needed videography help, whether I was even going to be full-time or whether, everything was kind of up in the air. But one of the first, it was, I think the day I met you or the day after I met you, you came up to me and you said, "Can you film a documentary about my daughter?" And I remember thinking, well, Yeah, like I was afraid I wasn't gonna have work the next day, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was actually something I knew how to do. It was film, because I came to you saying like, I'm the one man band. I can write, edit, direct. I can do it. I have my own equipment.
And actually, I knew nothing about you, and probably didn't even meet you till after you were hired.
Right.
Because I think Blaine Johnson, Din.
I was already yours by the time we shook hands.
Right. But so I think when we do the podcast and the video part of this, or we're doing the podcast, but you could link to these videos I'm talking about. There are 3 videos that you did for me that are, like, to me, the classic videos, and they are not vile. They're not. To me, they show the craftsmanship and the quality that I immediately saw in Brandon. And one was the one with Tiffany. The second, remember you did the one for me when I was being celebrated at Hobie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you got the award, the acceptance speech.
Right. But you did the video where you went out and, the video that played at Hobie.
Where people were talking. Yeah, I went to your different colleagues' office. I remember I drove around town to different politicians and different people's offices, and I interviewed them. I was holding a gun off camera, just aimed at. I said,
but you know what you need to do, right? Holding a gun is what you need to do.
Those were fun projects, though, because I got to get out of the office. I got to go film stuff. I mean. It was ultimately a version of what I was passionate about. I got to cut things together, and there was a sense of satisfaction to then show it here in the office and see reactions and get feedback. And it was like a film school in a way, because every week I was still having to churn out something video related.
Well, the third one was the commercial where you're driving a car, you're drunk, you're hit by the car, you slip and fall.
And then we started filming the commercial.
Right. Yeah.
That was the first thing that I saw of his, and I was like, wow, you're really talented. I think you played multiple characters in that one commercial.
He played everybody.
Yeah, we did a few of them based on, if you had something new coming that you're rolling out, you were like, we need a commercial for this, and I would play all these different, I was trying to...
Oh, the other great one was the little kid. You got to get that one linked too.
Yes.
The little kid.
I was representing, the kid was a lawyer, and I was looking for help.
Yes.
And this kid was like, what's funny is I've seen that kid on in movies and TV shows and stuff ever since.
But you were the one who first...
I got him his big break here at the law office.
Right.
Yeah, those we did a handful of commercials, and they were a lot of fun because we got to play all the different types of clients you represent in their worst moments.
Yeah.
And
that was so. There's 4 great. I mean, numerous great ones, but these are the ones that really meant something to me and really showed the quality of Brandon. And not only that, but I just felt a kinship to you because, I mean, you were just a creator and something that, like I would always want to be in my life, you know.
Thank you for saying that. The projects mean just as much to me, and I talk about them very fondly in any other interview that I do because it's just as much of a part of where I am now as anything else. Working here allowed me to put a roof over my head and still pursue my dream. Everyone who moves to LA, they ask for advice, like, how do I become an actor? How do I work in this? It's like, I don't know. I got lucky enough to find a day job that also encouraged my passion. And it's rare that you can find two that can go hand in hand. But to be honest, I don't know if I'd be where I am if I had a job that took me away or didn't even encourage, let alone encouraged me to be creative.
Well, to me, it was so fun because you were, you had maybe 50,000 subscribers or viewers or whatever. And then, the Fine Brothers had you, and then you saw a big jump, and then Anti
Fee, all of those things.
That big jump, and then...
And you were monitoring me. I would come into work and you would say, I noticed this one got a lot of views last night.
I told you, it was like a lot of fun to me to see you grow. And then finally, because I wanted you to grow, I wanted you to be where you are today, Oh,
well, thank you. I just got chills right now.
The heat was not on. Okay.
Well, it's funny because I remember the day you called me into your office. And you were at this point, you were like regularly watching my numbers, and you flat out asked me like, how much time do we have here? How much time are you going to be around? And that's when we started talking about the transitional phase out. But it was bittersweet because I just as much enjoyed watching the fire burn, seeing how these numbers can, and it was cool having, coming to work and having, it was like checking in with my friends saying like, did you see how this one did last night? And I do miss that. There was a joy of like showing up to work and then also have this other thing bubbling under the surface that you don't know what's going to come of it. But then cut to a couple years later and you were on the set to the first show that we were shooting, and that was a trip because then you brought people from the office. And
and you had a Mrs. Borey in that show, which was named after Regina.
Our HR, or my second mother here. Yeah, there are a lot of callbacks in my work even today that reference just little Easter eggs from this time of my life. This room that we're in, this exact room changed my life. I mean, my whole life changed because of this.
And it's going to change it again today. So I hope for the positive.
I think I'm married to this structure.
But enough about the past. I mean, we need 2 shows, okay? Not just one show with you, because there's a lot to talk about in the past, but look at where you are today, and don't feel bad about talking about yourself and where you are today. I mean, you're one of the stars of YouTube.
Well, and that's weird to think about because I've been doing it for now. It's been almost half my life I've been doing it. And it's still weird to think that YouTube in my mind is still this thing that like, one day I'll be one of the YouTubers.
Tell the story about the list.
Oh, and I actually found that list recently in my pocket, like in an old pair of pants. I used to carry around this list. At the time, there were a lot of YouTubers who were much more famous than me, and I did not think they deserved this fame. They were people who, I know how hard I work for my videos. I work pretty fucking hard for what I make. And some people crank out, there's work, and then there's content, and some people are really good at cranking out content a lot. And these people on this list were content creators. They were just, whatever. They didn't proofread their shit. They just put it out every week, got billions of views because they were in the algorithm and they were just doing it very frequently. Billions of views didn't exist back then, but you know what I mean. They were the equivalent of that. So I kept a list of them. I was a big fan of Kill Bill. I don't know if you've seen that, and she has and it goes down each one. So I ranked them in order of how popular they were, and eventually it was right around the time that I left this place, I showed Scott the list. I was like, look, I only have like 1 or 2 left. And eventually I got to I was passing each person up.
Passing them in number of what? Subscribers, views, or what?
The kill essentially meant that I had passed them up. So I'm like, okay, I'm bigger than them. I'm bigger than this one. I'm bigger than this one. And I would cross them off. And now I have a list of, and I will never publicly share who the names are because a few of them I'm actually good friends with.
But I remember some of those names. And so what are you going to do for me so that I don't reveal those names?
Right. I'm going to go in. If you do reveal them, I'll get into law and you'll be at the top of that list. I'll be like, all right, I have more clients than Scott. I'm surprised you remember that because it was.
No, because you carried it with you every day.
I had it in my wallet. Every day I carried that list. And I replaced my ID with, that little clear part. I put the list there. So every time I opened my wallet, I would stay motivated. I'd be like, okay, these are going down. And it's going to be this week, next month. I don't care when, but I am going to cross every name off on this list, and I did. And as far as I know, they're still under me. So I still. But and a lot of them have retired too. A lot of YouTubers back there are not doing. You're starting to see. We're at this point now where you're seeing the longevity or the shelf life of like an average internet star.
Oh yeah.
So now it's like, yeah.
I think I even saw you talking about that on YouTube with someone recently.
Was it Anthony Padilla?
Yes.
He did.
Yes.
So you did see that interview?
Yes, I saw that.
Because I plugged you.
Yeah, I saw. Well, you didn't plug my name.
Oh, I did say law offices. I did. Yeah. But
I was waiting to hear the rest of it.
Oh, shoot. That interview in its originality was 4 hours long.
Was it?
4 hours long. And it went by like that. His crew was awfully tired.
Yeah.
But we talked and talked.
And you've done a lot with him.
I have. He was never a name on the list, but he was someone that I had always admired years before I even moved to Los Angeles. And now he's one of my best friends ever. I mean, we live like a few minutes away from each other, and we're just always, you know, I understand now why so many influencers have influencer friends or actors have actor friends. It's like you start to realize there's people that you can just relate to in a certain way.
Yeah,
right?
and nobody else gets it.
Right. Well, you on the other hand, all your friends are so different. Every time you introduce me to one of your friends, I don't know who I'm going to meet because
I don't know either. I mean,
you've introduced me to some of the craziest, biggest, most extravagant or lifestyles I've ever met.
Yeah, right.
Politicians, artists. I mean, you know a cavalcade of characters.
Yeah, but the show isn't about me. But we can make it about me.
We can make, I have a habit of flipping things back onto Scott. Well, I mean, working with you for so long, I'm always like, I'm always used to turning the mirror this way.
Yeah, and you used to come in and film me. You know, we would do an end of the day. I would give you 5 minutes, you know, and sort of like a diary.
Yeah, we would, and that was in this room right here. We would hours of footage of, and we would go to the reservoir and we would talk about your life.
Remember the walk we took around the reservoir with Blaine
and his wife.
And his wife, Kathy. Yeah, and that was all filmed.
Yeah, we that. A lot of that was tape recorded.
Tape recorded, yeah.
What is it, audio record?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we got the audio of that one. But yeah, I just remember it was like, how do we capture? I want to, put a lot of this on film. But yeah, I liked doing the personal stuff here at the office, but I really liked just anything that I could go and film. I thought anything that got me off my ass, got me into the car, and we drove to go film, it was exciting because it was like, it's not a day at the office. We're going to shoot something.
Go to some of those events that we would,
Yeah, events. We would film events. We would film really bleak, like grim stuff. If someone had a bad injury, we would have to like film the injury and how it affected their life. And then the next day we would be at an event filming cheese raffles and shit. So it was a very wide range of emotions what we would film here.
Yeah.
But I really talk about it very fondly. Everyone who asks about what did I do before YouTube, this is if not only, the only thing I talk about. Yeah, because other than here in LA, I just took a lot of side jobs. I would just do a lot of, you need this shot for a weekend? Okay, that's it. This is the only real job I had.
Well, I remember you worked for a famous family.
I did work for the Hiltons shortly before here. I did paperwork for their humanitarian company.
Yeah.
But that was just a temporary thing, and we got along really well, but they didn't. Ultimately, I was more of a social lubricant than I was providing any kind of nourishment for their company.
Yeah.
I would just go there and talk, and they didn't have any work for me, but we would just talk, and then they realized one day, we don't need this, so we're going to lay you off. And ironically enough, everyone in the Hilton company was in my office was asking me, well, do you have anything lined up? And I was too embarrassed to say no. I didn't have anything lined up. I had just gotten laid off. I had a week to find something. And so I just started making up a story because I was so tired of, in the break room, people would say, do you have anything? I'd say, yeah, I do. It's really great. Some legal firm. I pulled it out of my ass. I'm going to be working at a law firm. And I think I just said it enough times to where the universe was like, oh.
And that's because your parents wanted you to work at a law firm.
My parents wanted me to work in law. We have a few people who work in law in my family. They're all pretty policemen, military, legal, doctors. No one is certainly an entertainer, in my family. And so finding out that I had gotten a job at a law firm was so exciting for them, even though they didn't know what I was doing, or that I was like, it's nothing that I need school for.
I love his mother, even though I've never met her, but she told him a month or two ago that you told her you were going to see your old boss, and she referenced the law firm, right?
Yeah, no, my parents are very... it is weird because I do feel a lot of my family knows who you are, and they've never met. But I mean, everyone certainly knows that I would not be here today if it wasn't for, like you said, running into you. My collision with you in life is ultimately what allowed, this sort of springboard for me to even get my footing in doing what I do. So, yeah.
Well, that's a lot to say. I don't know how, I certainly encouraged you in every way I could because I knew your talent.
I know that I'm not the only one either, and I won't say names, but there's other people that I've seen at the firm during my time here. Other people who had passions. And I remember you saying like, all right, well, what time can you be back at the office if you have to go to this audition or you have to go? I mean, you wouldn't just let people go do what they wanted, but if you saw value in someone doing something, you always encouraged them. And I thought that was just so lucky that I found this place. So lucky. I mean, any other job I've had in my life, I would not have been able to get my head above water to pursue anything else.
But we were lucky too. And so I've been hogging the conversation. I'm sorry, Russell. I know
no, that's
that
okay. I'm enjoying watching you guys reconnect and seeing the relationship that you guys have. I'm enjoying listening to that. But let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, WarmuthLaw. At WarmuthLaw, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. They've been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them today at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast. You know, the show is about the San Gabriel Valley, and you've sort of birthed your YouTube career here. Well, what is your original connection to the Valley? Are you originally from here?
No, so actually, I'm originally from the Bay Area. I first came to the Valley actually for my job interview here. But, you know, after a few years of working out here, you become very familiar with the area. And then, after I left here, I got a studio ironically, in Temple City. And so I'm constantly going through here. I'm constantly filming in here. I mean, this place just has a way of bringing me back to it years after I thought I would no longer be here. But yes, the San Gabriel Valley has been such an influential part of what I do for a living. It's easier to film out here. It's quieter to film out here. You know, in LA, you have people in general are a lot more aggressive when they see cameras and they try and get in the shots and they try and it takes so much more time to shoot stuff in public or just anywhere in LA than or LA proper than out here in, San Gabriel. It's just, you rarely have to hold for planes or industrial, vehicles or anything like that. So I really like it out here as a filmmaker. It feels like a little well-kept secret in the LA area. And so, yeah, that's what's kept me coming out here.
Can you talk about some of the things that influenced you to become this creative type growing up?
Well, I in high school, we had a club where we would do videos. This is back when you were filming on VHS cameras, and we would shoot once a week. We would make a sketch, and if you screwed up a take, we didn't know editing, so you had to rewind the tape back in the camera and do that as many times until you got the take right. And then a Friday at lunch, one of our teachers would let us use the classroom, and we would screen these videos. They were like 10 minutes long, and we would all have our lunch with us. We'd be watching these videos. And that was in 2005. And coincidentally, that same year, YouTube was born. And so we're thinking, oh, we don't have to go to the classroom. We can put this online. And I took a film editing class. My high school offered it as an elective. I learned how to edit. And when you learn how to edit, everything else, in my opinion, is easier. And when it comes to video production, if you learn how to edit something, okay, acting, costume design, especially as a gay man, those things you're born knowing those things. And so I realized, wow, and then I, of course, was a big fan of Mad TV, SNL, any kind of sketch comedy show. And The Office came around a few years later, and these shows showed me how cheaply you can make a good gag happen. Most of the things we laugh at in The Office, it's just good acting. Things aren't blowing up, or there's no VFX or anything. So I got to answer your question, in high school, I learned how easy it was to edit a simple timeline. And then I started learning some VFX. I learned, how to act. I went to acting school, took a lot of theater classes. What I do is sort of a lot of different things combined. And so I think in that era of my life, I didn't know that YouTube was going to be a mainstream source of revenue for anybody. I just knew that I liked cutting together these films, and they have a reaction on people when I show them to them. And that was unlike anything else, to have your work pay off in a way where you can literally read it on people's faces, and you can help people escape from a life that they're not happy in, even just for just a moment. If you get someone to laugh, no event in history can take away that moment they had. That's permanently a happy time you gave them. And if you happen to be good at everything that it takes to make that happy moment happen, why not run toward it? And so I started going to film festivals, little tiny local ones, tiny film festivals, and we would screen. And part of me kind of knew that my stuff was better than a lot of the people at these festivals. Like I knew it, and I would go knowing that. And this is the first time I've ever said that out loud. But like a lot of these festivals, I just knew I was going to be the best one there. Not because I had better equipment. In fact, most of them, they had a lot more expensive equipment. I was very poor. I just knew that my taste, my sensibility, the way I would cut things together was nuanced enough to blow these other films out of the water. And then ego starts kicking in, the YouTube channel starts blowing up, and then 20,000 followers later, that's a big number, especially back in 2009, I want to say it was, to 20,000, around 20,000. So then by the time I had moved to LA, 50,000 was huge in comparison, but then the ego goes back down because then you're in LA and it's like, oh, 50,000 is nothing out here. And so I had this big ego check after moving down here to LA of feeling like, okay, no film I went to one film festival, never submitted again. I was like, okay, these are all great. These are amazing films. And so I just kind of retreated, and that's when I found you, and I just sort of worked slowly until I felt that confidence again to, and Vine was a big help for that. Vine rolled out, and they were taking 6-second clips of the videos, a lot of them that we shot here at the office, and those were blowing up. And I would say, Scott, look what blew up, this thing in your copy room. It has like 10 million views on Vine, and neither of us are credited for this.
Yeah, right.
And I was, if you remember, I was actually quite upset for a while that I wasn't getting credited, because I was seeing videos that were getting views beyond my wildest.
I remember one where somebody throwing something, or somebody throwing something at your,
in the grocery store.
That was one of those early ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that one also didn't get, I got 0 credit, and it was just blowing up, and I would go in the comments, and at the time I wasn't a big enough name for people to stick up for me. No one knew. People didn't even know if I was being a character. They just thought this was some kooky guy that was, being weird on camera. And so that kind of like, and then several of the videos, because I play a different character in each video, and so people aren't even connecting that this is the same actor, but the clips are blowing up. I'm seeing them on T-shirts. I'm seeing them, people quoting them in the street, and I'm just like, that's me. And no one will know that that's the same human being playing all those people. And so it was, as a creator, I mean, and as someone who had any pride with what he was doing, it just was it showed me that the work had the ability to grow. It showed me that the work had the potential to be viral, that people would eat it up, but it just did it in the wrong place, the wrong time, and I wasn't getting any credit for it. So it was it was reassuring that I was doing decent work, but also I wasn't gonna. And eventually that all flipped upside down and changed a few months later. But Benny and Rafi Fine, who the Fine brothers, they posted a video. They did their homework on me, and they did all the research on who this weird guy is from Vine. And they did a video, and at the time they had 14 million subscribers, and so they did a video dedicated only. I wasn't a part of a video. The whole video was me talking about, okay, this guy that you know on Vine, this guy and this character, that's all the same guy. And that
was a big turning point.
That was the day it turned. That was I will never forget. I woke up that morning, and my friend from college, Salim, he texted me. He said, look on your Social Blade. Social Blade is a database, a public database that says everyone's daily numbers on YouTube, Twitter. It just has everyone's, how much money they've made, so on and so forth. And he said, open up Social Blade. And I did. And I will never forget, it was 27,000. It was an increase of 27,000 followers that night from when I woke up. And I said, okay, the iron isn't even hot. The iron is like it can cut through anything right now. We got to strike while this iron is blazing. And so immediately I got my camera guy at the time. We just started shooting videos. I'm like, one a week from here on out until these numbers tank. One a week. We got to fuel this fire. And that was around the time when we started doing the Angry Office video. It was probably in the last 6 months of me working here. It was this fire phase where it's like, and I went to Scott. I said, Scott, look what happened. And look, and it was like, okay, well, what do we do? What do we do? And how do we? And it became this weird obsession of like, how do we make this fire blaze as much as possible? Yeah, and so that's the long and short of it, I guess. I ran into Scott at the perfect time in my life. It all worked out exactly great.
But I think what people don't know or understand is who you really are, because your perception, the perception anyone would get from looking at your videos, you know, is of a certain type of person, but you're very disciplined, you know, you treat it very seriously, what you do. It's not, you know, you're not just, you know, out partying all night, you know.
No, it's the part of me, I think, that would have gone into loving a child, or I mean, not to say that people who have kids can't do, but like, I love my career as if it were, you hear people talk about their kids, they do anything for, like, I've never had a kid, so I don't know what that's like to do anything for your kid, but I have a pretty good feeling it's something like this, because I would die for my career. You know, like and I was like that since before I was ever successful. I would die trying to do what I do rather than live a very healthy, long life of doing something I'm okay with. And yeah, so I
But I know that you sit and write, you know.
Yeah, it's and you know what, even I'm sure, you know, I mean, you doing what your dream job, or doing a job that you work very hard to get toward, it can still be taxing, tedious, tiresome. It could still, you still get stressed, but it's different because it's like a stress you don't quite feel as opposed to other stresses that you've had to take on. It's like you take it on willingly, and at any given moment, any stress that, you know. And yeah, I get up very early. I wake up at 5 a.m. I consider fitness and what I do hand in hand, because a lot of my characters oftentimes, you know, if I want to play a character who's naked, I don't want to feel weird about myself. So I try and stay as in shape as I can, also staying as like mentally in shape. I try, you know, because a lot of it's funny, and you got to be funny, and some weeks you don't feel like being funny. Some weeks your heart breaks. Some weeks you lose a loved one or something like that, and then the world, you know, you laugh and the world will laugh with you, but you cry and you're crying alone. and I think part of the discipline is not letting people see that side. And you know, people say, well, that's fake. It's not fake. If you can make other people laugh and be happy, and then who cares what's on this side of the camera? You know, I really do feel like my job is to handle my own personal life with myself, and just like everyone else does, but to make people forget for a moment. And I'm sort of, the longer I do it, the more I realize, like, I'm the violinist on the Titanic. When everyone's lives are terrible, it's like you get to be that one person who, like, people pass by, oh, that's a nice song. We're sinking. You know, it's yeah. So going back to discipline, I think people, you know, being a comedian, and other comedians I know too, it does take a lot of discipline. Being any kind of entertainer or any person where you have to show up on your own time and there's no one else holding you accountable but you and your clients or fans or whoever, you know, that takes a lot of hard work. There's no one telling you, you know, there's no major consequence other than your own career's detriment to not showing up on time. And so,
what do you like to do when you get up at 5? Do you like to write? Do you like to exercise?
I exercise first. I always exercise. Well, it's very very strict routine. I wake up, I make my bed first thing in the morning, and then I immediately go downstairs. Coffee, I keep a ton of iced coffee in my fridge. I just chug a whole, like, a tall glass of iced coffee. That gets all my capillaries open, and then I start running. I run for about 20 minutes straight, like sprint without stopping, just 20 minutes or until I feel absolutely dead. And then push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and then I write. And I write until I have something that I feel eager enough to call my cameraman and say, we're filming here tomorrow, you know, this is, but every morning I just get up, work out, write, and then the rest of the day is just doing whatever chores I need to do to facilitate that shoot. If I have to go to a prop store, you know, a lot of my week is just getting costumes and having breakaway items made. There's a factory I live next to called New Rule VFX. And a lot of the stuff that shatters or breaks, I send to them. I say I need a plate or a glass or something, and they can make anything. And so, yeah, a lot of it goes into the technical elements, not just props, but just sound work, editing. A lot of 90% of it is me sitting at my desk, piecing these things together. But yeah, every morning it is that routine.
Yeah, and that's what makes you successful. Well, you know, of course, your native, you know, creative genius. But I mean, the discipline, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't
taught
be
me
where
a lot
you
of
are.
that too. I remember when we started filming outside of the office and I started seeing some of your daily habits, I was, oh wow, he works every morning. You're talking about how you come to the reservoir and you walk around, even just to walk and to think. Like, I've done that, not just at the reservoir, but
Yeah, I did introduce you to the reservoir, I think. But
you did, yeah.
I'm glad you called them habits and not idiosyncrasies or something worse.
Habit. Well, it's good because it's ingrained in what you. It's so much a part of what you do that it's just part of your lifestyle. Waking. Yeah, and I hold you in like a category of like all the successful people I know, and personally, I know probably about 5 or 6 people who are as successful as you in doing what you do. And all of you have this habit of getting up early and also putting your efforts into more than one venture. Mm-hmm. It's never just I'm doing this, and it's always a bunch of things, and then of course working out to some degree getting blood going through the brain. I didn't realize how much that was hand in hand with people who were successful. Like a lot of business moguls work out. I'm like, wow, and I get it now. When I do run, it is kind of like a drug. I feel like it's like laughing, whereas in a way, no one can take it away from you. You laughed, you worked out, no one's gonna be able to take that back. Yeah. And so I feel like I kind of stole something every morning, every time I finished a successful workout.
Yeah.
I followed some YouTubers where it was clear that this was their passion, but not their job. And I watched them grow and I watched them transition to, hey, I'm gonna go full time on YouTube. And that's always interesting to me, like what their mindset must be that, yes, this is very exciting and I can do what I'm passionate about, but who knows what the future may hold. So can you talk about that transition?
Yeah, and it's a really fascinating one because you see people like, you never know what the future is going to hold. Yeah, and it's scary because you want to step off one stone being your job, your everything that's familiar, and stepping fully onto the other stone, which is YouTube full time. And that's scary because that stone might sink. And it's a stone; it should have already sank. You know what I mean, though. But and it is, and I've seen people who step off the other stone too early, and they weren't quite ready for it, and then they're both sunk. And so, it is scary. I was lucky that the rock I was already standing on was, a place that was flexible. I had a family here that. I didn't feel like, okay, well, when you're out this door, like you're done. That fear was never part of me, so that gave me a little bit of courage to fully step on the full-time rock of YouTube. But it is scary. I've seen, and also there was a period, about a year, where the fame went to my head, I think. And I wasn't like atrocious or horrible, but there's a certain element of when fame comes into your life, and it never comes slowly. You get famous. You're famous all the, it's boom. It happens, and there comes a level of like untouchability that in your mind, like you feel like you've made it. And the thing I've learned is that there's no such thing as making it. You can make it for a set amount of time, but you're never like set. Everything is a plant that needs to be watered forever. And I learned that that fame can fade and it can come back, and it can your relevancy can fluctuate, and you aren't untouchable. The biggest stars of our society have, we've seen them fall over the last few years. Accountability, cancel culture, seeing people get famous all of a sudden and not know what to do. I don't know, and it's not my place to say anything, but I see it happen a lot where people step off that stone onto the YouTube full time because they've made it. They have all the money they think they need for the rest of their life, or they will, and it's just very rarely the case. A lot of my friends are very successful in entertainment, and they still have to work their ass off every morning, very early. I mean, in fact, some of the most successful people I know doing what I do get up much earlier and start and grind, are a lot more disciplined than me. And so I don't know, I think it is scary to transition full time because you really have to know what you're in for. You're for you to go full time into something, you're essentially signing up the rest of your life as a business manager. And like you're managing that business forever. And it's stressful because a lot of us get into this to be entertainers, to be comedians, to be animators, to, whatever it is we love doing. And suddenly you have a staff of, 300 people or whatever, and you're like, well, not me, I have a staff of 3 people. But still, even then, it's like, I didn't get into this to be a boss. I didn't get into this to, and then that comes with the potential, if you ever, just running a business in general become,
I was going to ask you, do you feel you have a good balance of the creative right now?
I do now. It took many years, and I really had to position myself in this comfortable spot in my. Comfortable meaning like I'm working with people who get me. Comfortable meaning like payroll it's been years. Everything's sorted out now. But at the beginning, when you're starting it up, it's like, well, I need a bookkeeper. I need someone to. How do I? You quickly need to staff the characters in your success story, and it's scary because you're giving these people access to anything that any one of these people could swindle you in a way. But no, I have a whole team of people now that I've worked with for many years. Each of them, I trust them all very much, and I'm lucky that I was able to find that. But I was just thinking about you. You got into this to be a lawyer, and now you're running an office, and it's like
I never got into it to be a lawyer, to be honest.
Really?
Oh no.
What made you want to pursue law originally?
Originally, I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people, but I thought. I got into it. I went to law school because I wanted the education. I wanted to learn this grand, profession of law.
Right.
Never to be a lawyer. Never. I never wanted that.
Oh, interesting. For some reason, I always imagined you.
You think I always wanted to wear my tie?
No, that's just if I was to make an action figure, it would be in that tie and the suit and everything.
Well, I had to, but that was to play the marketing game.
Oh yeah.
More. I mean, actually, I prefer the marketing. I prefer the, I guess, administrative, organizational kind of growing. I like the challenge of growing something. That's what I like.
Okay, I did not know. I knew that you used to write or work in. Did you used to work in
newspapers?
Newspaper. That's right.
Right. Yeah, I was a writer. Yeah.
And that's well, definitely. You're a big influence on me. Just to see. I mean,
and we haven't even talked about Elisa Lam.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So I just really quick. I have to say this. The humanitarian company I was running, the Hiltons, they're the ones who brought up Elisa to me. I remember I was sitting at work and they go, "Did you hear what happened? It just happened. She wasn't even found yet. It was just the elevator video." And they said, "Did you see this video?" And it was all over the office. Everyone was talking about it. And this is at the same time when I'm going, I'm going to work at a law firm. I'm going to go work at a law firm. When you came up to me, and I want to say it was you, it was either you or Tammy, came up to me and said, "We have this thing we need you to film. It's this client, but this is a very kind of macabre case. This is very dark." And as soon as you said the name, I had these chills go down the back of my spine. It's like both things, working at a law firm and Elisa, it's like they were like pulled into my life. And so, and then the fact that,
you educated me on that. I had no idea it was this huge social media,
I was like, "Scott, do you realize what you're sitting on right now? This is one of the biggest stories in the media right now, and she's your client." And
she wasn't.
She's But I was blown away at that, and I think technically in the Netflix documentary, you're kind of alluded to. The law firm is sort of mentioned. They don't say the name, but they talk about the representatives on her behalf. And I was like, "That's us. That was us right there."
Well, we could always talk more about that. But I just want to get an idea of how big you are.
I have heard that so many times. Anthony, the guy we were talking about, he and I, it's funny because we're very, I don't know, he's like my YouTube brother. I'd say that our audiences,
and you guys are pretty similar in size.
Pretty similar in size. We're pretty similar.
We don't want. And I don't know how you know that, but anyway.
We're pretty similar in
viewership.
Viewership. I mean, our fans overlap hardcore. Most of our fans are aware, at least, that we're friends in real life, but a lot of them, watch our same stuff. Yeah, we're both in the 6 million range.
So how does that compare? If we were doing the AP top 20 or something.
Let me see. Well, nowadays, there are YouTube. I mean, I don't know I think PewDiePie is still the biggest YouTuber. Last time I checked, he was the biggest YouTuber, and at that time, and this is years ago, but at that time, he was at like 50 million. 50 million. So that was years ago. 50 million was the biggest YouTuber. So 6 million, comparatively, it's not that. But you have to keep in mind now that YouTuber, that word doesn't necessarily mean what it meant a while back. Like most of these channels that are super big are companies. They're production companies or channels. They're not like someone growing their own thing. And so
explain this to me. You are the lead character in what is the biggest cartoon on YouTube. Is that right? Yeah,
on the biggest independent cartoon on the internet right now. And by independent, it just means it's not being produced by like Warner Brothers or independent. It's still a studio that's producing it. But my friend Vivian Medrano, who goes by Vivzy Pop online, she it's her studio. And she has a legion of some of the best animators, compositors, background artists working for her. And she came up to me about 4 years ago. She came up 3-4 years ago, and she said, I'm working on a show. And at this time, she didn't have the Titanic studio that she has now. It's like she had, I don't know how many people. She still produced stuff, but it was not what it is today. And she just offered me this role in a cartoon she was made. It was 1 episode. She said, it's the main character. Would you like to play him, and would you like to co-write with me? And so she brought me on as a writer. We both wrote this episode. I went into the studio. I voiced him. 3 months later, it blew up overnight, and it's now like I see people on the street wearing the T-shirts from the show. I go to conventions and people are dressed like my character.
What is the name of the show?
It's called Helluva Boss. It's about a boss in an office. Well, it takes place in hell, and I play this assassin who, if someone wronged you in the living world and you got sent to hell, you're a sinner that got sent to hell, but you have unfinished business and someone you over up top, I go up to the living world and I take them out for you. And so you pay me a fee, I go up there and I take care of the job.
Are they still in production?
Yeah, we wrapped season 2 last year, but it just premiered now just because animation takes so long to do. So the first episode of the second season just dropped about a week ago. And it's about 1 episode a month that comes out. But the anticipation that comes with this, I mean, people, as soon as the episodes drop, there are hundreds of people who are doing reaction videos, uploading, and you get a free focus group because they have the video playing in the corner and you're seeing literally their facial reactions as in real time to the jokes you've written. So you know what lands and what doesn't and what people resonate to more, what makes people cry or laugh. And it's just helped the show immensely. I mean, this whole culture of reaction stuff is largely what put me where I am. I mean, people reacting to stuff is what got me and a lot of other creators even on the map, because people watch reaction videos and they find new content through that. I think that Helluva Boss, a lot of it might have grown with the fandom and people will take videos and break down the characters and everything. So yeah, it's been this like second career that's branched off of the YouTube career for me, going into voice work. But yeah, I love it so much. I'm doing it right now. Look at this.
Well, Brandon, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them.
Yes.
What did you bring with you today?
So it's on my phone, but it is definitely a physical item that existed in this physical world, and I'm assuming this hole is mine. Yes, right there. Okay,
right,
wonderful. This is
Brandon.
Oh, there we go. All right, can you see it? All right, this is a billboard I was in. This was on Franklin and Highland and Hollywood, and I always wanted a billboard. Can you see it okay, or is it? I always wanted a billboard because I spent a lot of my time here making billboards with his face on it, and there was always a sense of pride still driving down, even in the recent years, seeing your face and being like, I took that photo. I edited that.
And you did the clothes, and that's not even my body, right?
It's not even. Well, it is your body, but from a different day.
Okay.
I think your head was.
Okay.
I liked the face more, but you were wearing casual clothes, and then I had you pose with the suit. So I want to say that even your body was 3 photos.
Do you realize how that billboard has made me famous, and made people afraid of me because they think I'm some. Wouldn't you think that reaction is somewhat common? That like, who is this?
It's an intimidating factor.
Intimidating person looking over the valley, like I'm the enforcer in the valley or something.
I helped make Scott's lion's mane.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, that's not me. That's like this billboard persona.
Right. Well, I had to spend a lot of time making that image, or like making you appear in every ad we shot, everything. You were this titan in a suit. And, and I even remember in that billboard, I remember even ironing out certain little wrinkles on your cuffs
you would
and making it was pristine. But
that's so go back to your billboard.
Yeah, so my billboard, this is a show that I did called Magic Funhouse, and that's me. I'm the main character, and out of my mouth you can see the other characters kind of spilling out of me. There was a big vertical billboard. The best part was that is David Dobrik's apartment building. He's a very big YouTuber, especially at that time.
Oh,
yeah, and he had to wake up every morning and see that on his building, and I was very proud of that. He wasn't on my list, but he should have been. And yeah, I never, after that happened, I stood there. I remember I stood there for an hour.
Just looking at the billboard?
And every time a car would get to a red light in front of me, I would lean in and I'd be like, look. Do you see that? That's me.
You really did that?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. And especially if some people recognized who I was on the street, and I would go, and they would go, oh, you got a billboard. I didn't care if they didn't care. I was so happy. I told everyone whose car pulled up near that billboard, I would make them roll down their window. I'd lean in and wave, and they would roll down their window, and I would say, look. It was the most carefree thing I've ever been in my life. It was a moment of feeling like I'd made it.
That you'd arrived right there in the middle of the Sunset Strip. And
that was just one
not
of them.
even Hollywood.
They were all down Hollywood too.
Oh yeah,
all down Hollywood on the LED billboards that would change.
Yeah,
they would cycle. So I would go down Hollywood and wait for mine to come up, and then I would say, "That's me right there," and then it'd be gone in like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
but and I
a big thrill, huh?
It felt I think I told you around the same time. I was like, Scott, I have one too.
Oh yeah, you texted it to me or emailed or
And what's funny is that it's that high. It is a high, but it doesn't last forever. And then the next project hits you, and you're like, already? Like the billboards come down a month later.
How long were they up? A month?
Well, they were supposed to be a month, but I guess whoever the next.
They didn't pay
They didn't pay, and so we got 2 months.
Oh yeah.
For the big one at least, but the digital ones they'll swap out instantly. But that was arguably like the most Hollywood I've ever felt. Nowadays, Hollywood, and that was back when streaming services were dumping money to creators. Everything was a streaming service. Everything was a new, and they were giving YouTubers like me just tons of money to create things for these platforms. And then they were also clearly giving their marketing a ton of money. I mean, that billboard, I forget how much it was, but I want to say it was like close to anywhere. It was like between 25 to 50,000 for that month. Just and I'm like, this can't be. And nowadays, that doesn't happen. Creators aren't getting money like that. I was very excited to be part of that phase, but I think even then I kind of knew this can't be the future. This can't be sustainable.
But that was a TV show, and I remember going to the set.
Yeah.
And you had like 50 people on your payroll.
It was a big team. It was a big operation that was happening there.
And then you'd have the big meals, and I like the candy everywhere.
We had. Oh yeah, that's right. It was a very colorful set that you were on. That one was.
No, but I mean this was candy.
Yes, we had candy all over the set.
People could just take candy. I mean, it was like it's quite a life you lived.
It was that time. Well, but that was exciting then, but what I'm doing now has a lot of that pulp removed. And I think not just for me, I think production companies kind of learned what was too extravagant that they were doing at that time. I mean, at that time we thought streaming was the future, and it is, but only on a few platforms. You open your TV and you have like Hulu, Amazon, Netflix. But back then, it's like every show had its own streaming service, and you're catering toward teenagers who need to use their parents' credit cards, have to convince their parents that this is a good investment. So it just wasn't a sustainable.
And that's your market for the most part?
For the most part, yeah. My audience is, I had to forget they grow over time. They get older over time. But no, for the most part, it is late teens, early 20s, like college age.
There's so much to talk about. We have no time, and you have to come back a second time.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk to maybe I should bring Brian and I.
Yeah, come with Brian.
That would be fun, because I feel like he and I would have a lot to talk about. For those of you who don't know,
Brian.
Brian's my old coworker here at the firm who is very successful himself. I mean, everyone that you brush up against, it's like you turn people to gold, because Brian's doing so well right now. And I'm very proud of him.
Why don't you come back with him? But there's so much. I mean, look at all these little things that I can think of. Your friend Angeline.
Oh my gosh, Angeline.
Okay. Yeah. You do Comedy Central shows.
Yeah. Comedy Central.
You go to New York, you film Comedy Central shows. I mean, just there's so much to talk about, and you haven't even finished everything you have to say about me.
Well, I'm surprised your memory is so good. If anyone's not watching this and just listening, he has no cue cards. He's not reading anything. You remember so many distinct facts and dates and things about and at the I mean, I remember when I used to work here, I'd be like, does he even know my name? And I just started as this guy, and here you are. It means a lot, because I truly would not be here without you, and so I thank you for even keeping tabs on me even after you didn't have to.
Oh yeah, no, but that's not what this podcast is about. I mean, really, it's really interesting to hear your story and to know what you do and what you have done. But there's so much more I'm interested in, But
I'm always out in the San Gabriel Valley. Like I said, this place has been so nutritious to my career, my mental state. I love working out here, and I love that I get to still come back and visit every now and then and be a guest.
Yeah, no, it's always a thrill. But Russell, where do we stand in the show here? I know we've kind of gone on for an hour or so. Doesn't even seem like it.
Yeah, I mean, that went by really fast. We'd love to have you come back again and share more with our listeners. I mean, there seems to be a whole lot that we can discuss here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But you just said that you love the San Gabriel Valley, and it means a lot to you. So it's a great transition into finding out a little bit more about what you love about the SGV.
Yeah.
So we call this the SGV3, and this is, we're right at the end of our show, but we have time to try to. What are three of the things that you can remember about the San Gabriel Valley, or places you like to go?
Almanzor Park is the first one that comes to my mind.
Wow, that's funny.
Almanzor Park. Valerie, or one of the ladies that used to work here, she recommended me to go here. I think I was trying to lose weight at the time. I was a little bit heavier, and I said, I'm looking for a good jogging place. To this day, I still jog there. And really? I filmed there. Almanzor, it's just, I've never had a bad time there, and I use it for so many things.
It's a great park. And you know what's funny? The guest we had just before you today listed Almanzor Park as well. And not only that, she owns a restaurant called Duck's Restaurant, which is on Las Tunas.
Okay.
And how did it get its name 27 years ago? Because that was the park that their family would go to and feed ducks.
Wow.
And they just feel now with this restaurant, we're feeding, and they
those
call
ducks to the people. There are a lot of ducks. That park is weirdly full of ducks. Now that I think about it, they're probably my least favorite thing, because they're loud.
Yeah, they're loud and they're messy, right?
And they and they're awful. But yeah, Almanzar Park is such a great. It's very central to a lot of places, and it's just such. Okay, so 2 other places. That restaurant that we'd eat, the healthy one down the street that Blaine loved.
Yeah, that was the Green Zone.
Yes, I love that. Is that still there?
They moved over to Rosemead and Las Tunas.
The owner, so it was like Jill, so friendly, and we would eat there at least every week, if not more than that.
Well, Blaine would only go there for most of his meals. Yeah.
That one I like. And then, of course, is that bakery still beneath us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is my favorite bakery.
What is the bakery called downstairs? It's called...
I don't know.
I
can't remember.
Pan.
It's Pan...
that's sad if I still remember this one.
It's...
Pan? No, I don't...
Pan is in the name.
Oh my pan.
Oh my pan. Oh
Yeah.
my pan. Yes, and I could probably I think I still remember half their menu, if not more.
But now you can't eat any of that.
I can't eat any of it. I do. I'm keto now.
Yeah.
And I stopped calling it a diet because that implies that there's a finite time to it. But no, I'm just.
You're keto.
Keto.
That's it.
Yeah. You know, it's. But
you're a mammal. You're keto. Right.
Part of my,
what else are you?
I'm a male keto. And let's see, third place.
No, that is 3. But come up with another one.
Oh, yeah. You know, Brian and I every week also used to get lunch at Super A Foods. Do you know Super A Foods just down there?
Oh yeah, right down the street.
Because he really liked fried stuff, and they have a section where it's like all fried stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we would eat there.
Oh yeah, that's a good place. I like that too.
Yeah. I think I like San Gabriel because it feels like where I'm from. I grew up in the Bay Area, largely. I don't know if you've been to Milpitas, but
I don't think so.
Milpitas is a lot of Filipino demographic down there, and or up there, I guess. And something about the San Gabriel Valley, just the I guess the viscosity of street traffic, or how full it is out here, how quiet it is. Something about here really reminds me of Milpitas, or like the suburbs of San Jose where I grew up.
Oh,
and it does feel very familiar, especially having worked here, you know, and still working out here in the Valley. Every time I come out, I live in Studio City, so it's, you know, a good half hour, 45 minutes to an hour to get out here, and it really feels like coming back to home every time I do. You know, it's just the streets are familiar enough. You know, it's
a home type of neighborhood.
I'm sure you feel the same way. We were both commuters to here, and we used to. Didn't you used to live out in the San Gabriel Valley? Pasadena. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story with us and our listeners. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was a nice trip down memory lane.
Yeah. But we do want to talk with you more about whatever you're doing now, but also Brian. Yeah, bring in Brian.
Yes,
so
my
that's our
buddy.
next one.
So before we go, what's coming up in the future for you?
Well, I go on tour every year. This year I'm doing another one. I'm going up and down the West Coast this time, and I just do like stand-up. I play my characters, them trying to do stand-up comedy, and and that beyond that, it's just
when do you start your tour?
That one it starts top of 2023. So I'm rehearsing until then. I'm just making videos and rehearsing, and then January I head out. So. And
where can people find tickets to your show?
Just on my Linktree, linktree.com/Brandon Board, BORED. I had to look that up. I forgot what my Linktree was. Or just Brandon Rogers. You type that into any bar, I'm sure something will come up. Although there's a few singers I've learned. There's a couple singers that are Brandon Rogers, but I look nothing like them, but they exist. Anyway,
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Brandon. I'm glad to have you. Well, there you go. There's another episode, SG viewers, of the SGV Master Key podcast. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
matter. No, kind of matter.